We, the SANON, are super delighted to offer the Bible's answer to each question in this article. The book of Job can help you when you suffer. Theme text: for a certainty, God does not act wickedly. Job 34, verse 12. Focus: what we can learn from the book of Job about why God allows suffering and how we can endure when we suffer. Questions 1 and 2. What are some reasons why the book of Job is worth reading? The Bible's answer. We are deeply encouraged by the book of Job because it reveals Jehovah's justice, wisdom, and love while answering the painful question of why suffering exists, helping us see that God is never the source of evil, according to Job 34, verse 12 and 2 Timothy 3, verse 16. Question 3. What are some benefits we can gain from studying the book of Job? The Bible's answer. We gain Jehovah's elevated perspective on trials, learning how faithfulness under suffering strengthens our endurance and equips us to help others who are hurting, based on James 5 verse 11 and Proverbs 27 verse 11. God allows Job to suffer. Question 4. What stark contrast existed between Job and the Israelites in Egypt? The Bible's answer. We see a powerful contrast in that Job remained faithful and prosperous while the Israelites suffered slavery after falling into idolatry, helping us understand that suffering is not always linked to unfaithfulness, according to Job 1, verse 8 and Joshua 24, verse 14. Question 5. Why did Jehovah allow Job to suffer? The Bible's answer. Jehovah allowed Job's suffering to answer Satan's challenge and to prove that true worship is based on love and integrity, not material blessings, as shown in Job 1, verse 20-22 and Job 2, verse 9 and 10. Question 6. How could the Israelites have benefited from knowing why God permits suffering? The Bible's answer. We understand that learning about Job would have helped the Israelites see Satan as the real source of suffering and appreciate how deeply Jehovah values faithfulness under trial, according to Job 2, verse 3 and Ecclesiastes 9, verse 11. Questions 7 and 8. How can the book of Job help those of us who suffer? The Bible's answer. We are reassured that Jehovah is not the cause of our pain and that endurance honors him, restoring faith and hope even after severe trauma, as described in Job 4, verses 1 and 8 and Proverbs 27, verse 11. How the account of Job helps us to endure. Question 9. How would you describe Job as he sat in ashes? The Bible's answer. We see Job as a man in deep anguish who nevertheless endured faithfully, proving that endurance is not the absence of pain but loyalty under extreme distress, according to James 5 verse 11. Question 10. What kind of relationship did Job have with Jehovah? Explain. The Bible's answer. We recognize that Job had a close and honest relationship with Jehovah, freely pouring out his emotions and questions, showing us that sincere communication with God is part of enduring faith, based on Job 10, verses 1 and 2 and Job 16, verse 20. Question 11. How did Jehovah react to Job's response regarding his integrity? The Bible's answer. We are touched to see that Jehovah responded to Job with patient, fatherly guidance rather than harsh condemnation, helping Job grow in humility and clearer understanding, which shows us that our sincere devotion matters deeply to God even when our words are imperfect, according to Job 42, verses 1 through 6. Question 12. How could the Israelites have benefited from the account of Job? The Bible's answer. We can see that the Israelites could have learned to pour out their feelings to Jehovah while humbly accepting his discipline, just as Moses ultimately did, strengthening their endurance and trust in God's justice and guidance, based on Psalm 106 verses 32 and 33 and Deuteronomy 32 verses 50-52. Question 13. How can the account of Job help us to endure? The Bible's answer. We are reassured that we can speak openly to Jehovah about our pain and still receive his help, wisdom, and loving correction, which builds our endurance and refines our faith under trial, according to Hebrews 10 verse 36 and James 1 verse 5. Use the book of Job to help others. Question 14. What line of reasoning can we use in the ministry to explain why suffering exists? The Bible's answer. We can lovingly explain that suffering began with rebellion against God and that Jehovah allows time to settle the issue while providing a sure hope of restoration, helping others see that He is not the cause of human pain, according to Romans 5 verse 12 and Revelation 21 verses 3 and 4. Question 15. How might we use the book of Job to help someone who asks why suffering exists? The Bible's answer. We can show that even Job once misunderstood his suffering, then gently explained that Satan, not God, was the source, which reassures people that Jehovah trusts faithful humans and will bless endurance, helping them see God's justice and compassion, according to Job 7, verses 17 through 21 and Job 34, verse 12. Question 16. Relate an experience that shows how the book of Job can help someone who is suffering. The Bible's answer. Let's consider how the book of Job helped Mario. One day in 2021, a sister was doing telephone witnessing. On her first call, she shared a Bible verse with Mario and explained that God not only listens to our prayers but also offers us a future and a hope. When she asked for his thoughts, Mario told her that he had been writing a suicide note when she called. He said, "I believe in God, but I was just wondering this morning if He had abandoned me." The second phone call led to a discussion about Job's suffering. Mario decided that he needed to read the entire book of Job. So our sister sent him a link to the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. The result? Mario accepted a Bible study and was excited to learn more about the loving God who took an interest in him. Taking this experience into account, we are moved to know that the message of Job can reach hearts in deep despair, helping people rediscover hope in God's loving interest in them, proving that His Word has the power to rescue lives and renew faith, as described in Hebrews 4 verse 12. Question 17. Why are you grateful to Jehovah for including the book of Job in His inspired Word? The Bible's answer. We are grateful because the book of Job clears Jehovah's name, strengthens our endurance, and equips us to comfort others with truth and hope, reminding us that God is never unjust and always compassionate, according to Job 34, verse 12. By way of review, how would you answer? Question 1. How do we benefit from understanding why God allowed Job to suffer? The Bible's answer. We gain peace of mind and stronger faith when we understand that Jehovah was not the cause of Job's pain but allowed the trial to settle vital issues about loyalty and integrity, helping us see that our faithfulness truly matters to Him and gives an answer to Satan's accusations, according to Job 2, verse 3 and Proverbs 27, verse 11. Question 2. How can the account of Job help us to endure trials? The Bible's answer. We are encouraged to pour out our feelings honestly to Jehovah and still trust His wisdom, knowing that endurance refines us and leads to blessings, just as Job's perseverance resulted in restoration and deeper understanding, based on James 5 verse 11 and 1 John 5 verse 14. Question 3. How can we use the Job to help others? The Bible's answer. We can comfort those who suffer by explaining that God does not act wickedly and is not the source of human misery. And by sharing Job's example, we help others see that endurance brings hope and that Jehovah lovingly notices their pain, according to Job 34, verse 12 and Hebrews 4 verse 12. Source: Daddy, Mommy, Dony and Coletny.